Fading future, shattered dreams. End of times ain't what it seems.
Hello, friends. It's Sam Cheney reporting for Weaponized News. Today, August 21st, 2026. Thank you for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. It's kind of a slow news day. I don't know. We're in the same loop. We're in the same loop here. We've got Iran war news on day 174 of Iran war. The ins and outs there. Trump says we control the Strait of Hormuz. Nothing could be further from the truth there. Looks like Trump has he's blowing the U.S. protection racket, as allies are now questioning if America can keep them safe after our failings in the Iran war. We'll take a look at that. Bunch of economic news. Oh yeah, that story reported on yesterday. Turns out the Fed set up the whole ISIS fake terrorist attack. It's just beyond the pale of ridiculous. But as per usual, they're keeping us safe from the terrorists by staging up patsy terror attacks. There you go. Fear the ISIS that's propped up by the feds. We got Palantir news, bunch of economic news, a little bit of Epstein news, a little bit today on the slow Friday. Quite a bit of economic news, actually. It just gets crazier by the day here. A bunch of geopolitical news, more fallout from Aardvarkland's attack on Turkey or on Syria, implicating Turkey. They're calling for a red notice against Bibi Netanyahu. Take a look at that. The leveling, ethnic cleansing, and genocide of Lebanon and Gaza continue. They're moving on to the West Bank. We'll take a look at that. More international condemnation for them, for the ultra-Zionist settlers, terror attacks in the occupied West Bank. All that and much more on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I see a few people coming in the chat right now. Shout out to Strong on the Rumble. Yeah, we have there's a big Bitcoin pump today. There's a big gold pump today, too. We do have that in our economic news. We'll take a look at that. All right, on to this day in history. On this day in history of August 21st, we go back to the year 1321 on this day. 160 aardvarks are burned at the stake in Chinon, France. So I'm sure they had it coming there in 1321 on this day. 1831 on this day, we saw Nat Turner's slave rebellion. Former slave Nat Turner leads uprising against slavery on this day, 1831. On this day, 1878, how did I get out of whack here? Okay, going back a little bit, 1863 on this day, we saw the Lawrence, Kansas massacre. 450 Confederate guerrillas led by William Quintrell with William T. Anderson and Frank James attacked the Unionist town of Lawrence, Kansas, killing more than 150 unarmed men and boys on this day, 1863, American Civil War. Very tragic there. On this day in 1878, the American Bar Association organizes in Saratoga, New York, and these lying lawyers have been screwing over the world here in America ever since. 1915, on this day, Italy declares war on Turkey in World War I. On this day in 1967, China reports the downing of 2 U.S. bombers. 1980 on this day, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, PETA, is founded in a basement office in Tacoma Park, Maryland. On this day, 2017, Johnson & Johnson is ordered to pay $417 million to a woman who developed ovarian cancer after using their talc-based products. On this day in 2018, we had a few of Trump's cronies getting in trouble here. It's turned out to be all part of the professional wrestling kayfabe show. Michael Cohen, President Trump's personal lawyer, pleads guilty to charges including making illegal payments at the direction of Trump to women of whom Trump had affairs with. On this day, 2018, also on this day, 2018, Paul Manafort, former Trump campaign manager, is convicted of 8 counts of fraud in federal court in Alexandria, Virginia. And now there's reports that, Cohen allegedly ratted out Trump. Now Trump's going to circle back and go on his podcast. It's clown world. These people are jokes. On this day in our civil liberties history, 1923, President Calvin Coolidge defends free speech except when President Calvin Coolidge, in a White House meeting with a delegation seeking amnesty for people in prison for Espionage Act convictions during World War I, said that he believed in freedom of speech. No man should be held in prison because of his opinions he had expressed, as reported by the failing New York Times, but that it depended on the circumstances of the speech. The president specifically said that freedom of speech did not extend to those who, during the war, attempted to stir upon a general public opinion hostile to the purpose of the government. That was way back in World War I. This government's pure evil, always has been. On this day, 1955, Houston claims success in anti-rock and roll campaign. The Juvenile Delinquency and Crime Commission in Houston, Texas, claims success on this day in its anti-rock and roll crusade. The effort involved pursuing radio stations not to play recordings with lewd or suggestive lyrics. All 9 Houston radio stations cooperated. The crusade began when African-American parents objected to a program that had a female singer, race not identified, whose burlesqued Southern African-American singers and in the process performed numbers with suggestive lyrics. How far we've come from 1955 concerned about rock and roll, lewd and suggestive lyrics. All right, here's our segue to the news. White House posted this earlier today. AI will transform scientific discovery. I don't know. Call me skeptical after the science took the Fifth Amendment a few weeks ago in front of Congress. Call me skeptical about all this.
Artificial intelligence is going to transform the way that scientific discovery is done in this country. If you are working on material science, if you are working on pharmaceuticals, if you are working on chemistry, you in 2-3 years or even today are doing your role as a scientist dramatically different because of artificial intelligence. And we as a government that spend almost $200 billion a year on funding R&D need to be aware of that and prioritize that so we can make sure that our ecosystem is putting out the best possible research in the world. Artificial
problem is the back end is still, it's programmed by them, so they're still not releasing alternative breakthrough energy as one example of many that they're still keeping us in the paradigm of the bullshit fake system that we're in. Here's Trump on Iran. Says we have total control of the entire region. It's just not true. I'm sorry, MAGA Trumpers. It's just simply not true what he's saying here. I'm sorry, Americans, you and I, because it's destroying our economy here now on the back of Trump's lies for Aardvark land.
They have 350% inflation. So we're just going to sort of see what happens. And we have total control, as you know, of the border. We have total control. If you look at the blockade, we have total control of that entire region having to do with the Strait of Hormuz. And that means well into it, the land areas. So they would love to make a deal.
Iran's calling every day to make a deal. Iran says they're not calling every day to make a deal. Somebody's lying. They're probably both lying to us here now. The Trump administration has begun the process of paying for all the America First, American nationalism. We're taking down the globalists, as Alex Jones would say. No, we're not. The Trump administration has begun the process of paying $725 million toward the more than $4 billion the United States owes the United Nations. The payment, which is less than 20% of the United Nations' claimed debt, could help the organization avoid immediate spending cuts and salary disruptions. Experts warned that without further payments, the UN could face serious cash shortages and the U.S. could lose its General Assembly voting rights in January. That's a report out of Reuters. And we need our General Assembly voting rights to veto Aardvark land's genocide, you see. And so it's well worth this $4 billion price tag. The most crushing economic operation ever taken against any country, Trump says. Economic warfare against Iran. He's literally destroying our economy. What does Iran have to say about all this? Deputy Foreign Minister out of Iran, Gari Babdai, said Washington has resorted to begging all of its allies to help and turned to economic warfare after failing militarily. The military war did not work. So now they have named their next failure economic war. They claim Iran is on the brink of collapse and hanging by a thread, yet they beg their allies to help. The problem is the wrong calculations that each time to cover them up, they're forced to create bigger failures for themselves. The military war didn't yield. Here he is talking all this mess. Oh, but there's more. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps says it is developing weapons with greater destructive power, longer ranges, and improved precision for use in a renewed conflict. The destructive power of the warheads used by the IRGC missiles far exceeds those used in previous wars, IRGC spokesperson Sardar Mahabi said, according to Iranian state media. If a war breaks out, our weapons will be completely different from the past in all aspects. Jeez, if this is true, they reworked their whole military here now in what, 2 months or however long it's been since we've had the real hot and heavy kinetic action going on there. Maybe. But according to Trump, we've won the war many times over, defeated them militarily, and now we control the Strait of Hormuz and much of the land there in Iran. Very conflicting reports here. Iranian lawmakers push NPT withdrawal after U.S. strikes. Multiple Iranian parliament members submitted a proposal today to fully withdraw from the NPT and overhaul the country's defense doctrine, responding to what they call unprovoked U.S. attacks earlier in the year. Let's see. Ravan Beshk, a prime minister there out of Iran, said he declared no reason remains for Iran to stay in the treaty, while others cited the deaths of the leaders and civilians as justification. With 440 kilograms of 60% enriched uranium, enough for 10 warheads if processed, withdrawal would halt IAEA inspections, potentially speeding regional nuclear tensions amid hardened stances on both sides. The NPT is the non-nuclear proliferation treaty. So now they're saying, man, Iran can never have a nuke. Well, we'll just get out of the whole system and build our nuke anyway and F off. So that's coming. That's real nice as well. Iran is preparing to withdraw from the non-nuclear proliferation treaty today. It's just a complete disaster. Well, as long as Iran can't have a nuke, I don't care if you pay $1 million for a freaking tank of gas. Well, they're going to have a nuke here now. This is the biggest foreign policy disaster, maybe in all the history of America here now. I don't know. We've had some big ones, right? We've had some big ones. But it's beyond the pale. Iran is prepared for broader escalation, with a senior advisor to Parliamentary Speaker Ghalibaf declaring that the ceasefire was the right thing to do. Signing the MOU was the right thing to do. Now, precisely for the same reason, escalating is the right thing to do. The statement by Majid Shakari comes as Iran's armed forces chief of staff warns that any enemy miscalculation will be met with a revolutionary, crushing, regret-inducing, and devastating response across all domains: land, sea, air, defense, space, and cyber. How could that be? We blew up all their capabilities, according to Trump. It's just empty threats from Iran, I'm sure. U.S. allies are now directly questioning whether Washington can still protect them after Iran war depleted American weapons stockpiles and exposed the limits of U.S. military capacity, according to a report out of the Wall Street Journal. The question is no longer whether the U.S. is willing to defend its allies, but whether it still can. The numbers are devastating. Thousands of interceptors fired, fewer than 1,700 Patriots left, ATACMS and PRISMs virtually gone. Rebuilding the stockpile will take years. Trump is punishing allies that stayed out of the conflict, reducing exercises in South Korea, withdrawing troops from Germany, threatening to bomb the shit out of Oman. The message is clear. If you don't join his wars, he won't protect you. The Iran war has broken trust in the American racketeering operation. I added that part. In the American security guarantees. It's a protection racketeering operation. The government is organized crime. Trump just blew the U.S. protection racket. So another complete and utter failure by Trump. Art of the Fail should be his most famous book here now. Allies are preparing for a world without Washington. So good job, Trump. You're blowing up the U.S. protection racket there. Iran is reportedly preparing to damage Trump's presidency through economic warfare ahead of the November midterms, striking oil takers beyond the Persian Gulf, tightening the Houthis' blockade of Bab al-Mandab Strait, and targeting Gulf oil terminals to drive up global energy prices. More from Ghalibaf here. He's the Iranian parliamentary speaker. This dude, he always talks a mess out there. This dude, right? He said a detailed agreement and memorandum of understanding has been signed between Iran and Iraq regarding security issues and border security. We discussed its implementation and followed up on the matter. We also discussed Iran's security issues and Iraqi groups. However, I want to state clearly that we never interfere in Iraq's internal affairs. They have militias running all over Iraq. But okay, bud. Iran's Foreign Minister Argachai posted this on the X. He said, 14 years ago, most crippling sanctions in history failed. 8 years ago, maximum pressure failed. 5 months ago, unconditional surrender failed. Today, most crushing economic operation ever, bound to fail. We have seen this movie before. Some bull, same bull, different bullies. And he's referencing Obama there. He's referencing this Obama post. VP Biden on Iran. These are the most crippling sanctions in the history of sanctions, period. So we have. He's not lying there. We've tried this trick on Iran, but this time, because Trump's in charge, even though our Treasury Secretary Bissett can't figure out why the price of oil is going up, he admitted that yesterday. These sanctions are going to really crack down. It's just it's forcing innovation for Iran. They have to find workarounds now for being blocked in the Western banking system. It's actually accelerating BRICS, their work with BRICS, finding other alternatives, other shipping routes, the back door out through Pakistan. One, they're developing alternative shipping routes, alternative trading routes, so on and so on. So this is just actually backhandedly helping them. In the short term, they will feel economic pain. We're not going to undermine their government and cause a revolt due to our economic sanctions. May cause a revolt here in America if they're not too careful. U.S. does not understand language of diplomacy. Senior Iranian Prime Minister said, or PM says, MP says, Azizi, language of strength will compel U.S. to apologize to Iran and leave the region forever. They're talking pretty tough today, all these Iranians out there. The U.S. has proven it does not understand the language of diplomacy. They will neither lift the sanctions, release Iran's resources, nor put an end to maritime piracy. History, however, will show that the language of strength will compel it not only to take these steps, but also to apologize to the great Iranian nation and leave the region forever. They're talking pretty damn tough today. Iran has just launched anti-ship cruise missiles from Bandar Jask in southeastern Iran, targeting vessels, an unusual location as it's further from the Strait of Hormuz than other typical Iran launch sites. A U.S. Air Force F-35A Lightning II also just squawked 7,700 emergency over the UAE while conducting escort operations over the southern Omani corridor of the Strait of Hormuz with its transponders turned off. And that was like 2 or 3 hours ago, posted by the Hormuz Letter. China registers opposition to U.S. economic campaign against Iran. Chinese Foreign Minister spokesman Lin Jian said earlier today that the newest round of U.S. economic pressure would, quote, not help to resolve the conflict in the Middle East. Lin called on all sides to address tensions through political and diplomatic means. China has repeatedly rejected unilateral U.S. sanctions, arguing that measures not authorized by the United Nations Security Council lack standing in international law. Bro, we've already said FU international law will sanction the ICC, but then backhandedly we're paying the UN. So again, schizophrenic U.S. foreign policy here, trying to spin all these plates of empire, and it's not feasible at this time. It's simply not feasible. Aardvark Land's lobby new list of demands just dropped. Information Liberation Chris Meehan reports $40 billion plus from U.S. taxpayers over the next 10 years. U.S. establish a, quote, permanent military presence and CENTCOM operational headquarters in Aardvark Land. Formally include Aardvark Land in the Golden Dome. Merge our defense industrial base. A, quote, limited U.S. Aardvark Land mutual defense treaty to, quote, honor the, quote, memory of Lindsey Graham. A new NATO where U.S. organizes arms Arab states in defense of Aardvark Land. Membership in such a security structure should be conditioned on Arab members normalizing relations with Aardvark Land. So it's like, yeah, they go bomb them, and you're supposed to smile and say, thanks for killing our kids, bro. We freaking love being bombed by you because you're Aardvark strong. It's just, it's otherworldly, man. It truly is. Here now. More on this. Is America still capable of enforcing the world order? CSIS estimates the United States has burned through about half of its pre-war missile interceptor stocks and now has roughly 800 Patriots, while Russia alone produces more than 100 ballistic missiles a month. Allies in Europe, Asia, and the Gulf increasingly question whether Washington has both the capacity and political will to defend them simultaneously, particularly Taiwan and NATO. The Pentagon denies any critical shortage, while the United States is investing heavily to expand interceptor production, but rebuilding the arsenal could take years. Wall Street Journal. Yeah, who's going to be the police of the world? It says our Constitution we're supposed to. I don't know what the world will do. How about it's maybe if we can get out of the way of our own fraud, corruption, and grift, we could have some type of actually functioning system. Nah, probably not. The 500, we got a 33 column here, $533 million artillery factory made nothing. The United States Army paid General Dynamics $533 million to build a new artillery factory in Texas. It hasn't produced a single usable shell. No one has been held accountable. Just laugh in everybody's face and call them commies as you still friggin' $500 million here. You know what I mean? It's just the level of corruption is just otherworldly here now. It was the summer of 2024, and the cutting edge robots inside General Dynamics' sweltering artillery factory near Dallas were catching fire with startling regularity, according to 4 former workers there. This wasn't ideal, as the plant was supposed to be churning out urgently needed artillery shells for the Ukraine-Russia war. The robot's giant metal arms with clamps for hands would end up drenched in oil, which would then, no surprise, combust as they moved steel blocks heated to 1800 degrees into and out of a machine periodically erupted into columns of flame. So then that didn't work out. So then we said, well, we got to build this new. Here's the image of it, actually. You can see it here. Yeah, that doesn't work out. Not sustainable production capacity there. So that didn't work out. So we're like, well, we got to do something else. Well, that other thing was the fiasco has cost American taxpayers $533 million, according to the Army. But the Army has not held General Dynamics or a key Turkish subcontractor, which provided the factory's much hyped but little proven equipment, public accountability for the failures, nor has it made General Dynamics pay back a penny. So they had this set up with the robots. It failed, obviously. You could see catching on fire there. And so it doesn't work. $533 million munitions factory there in Texas, worthless. Perfectly fine, I'm sure. Melania Trump stepping back out in the public view after being missed there for a few months. Seems they're gonna do this Formula One race there in DC. We're trying to afford groceries, bro. The White House is tone deaf, but Trump has this hooker wife there modeling for this, fostering the future. I believe this is part of more trafficking operations there. Oh yeah, everybody's looking forward to that. The Formula One race in DC this weekend is kicking off. Here it is, man. It's beyond the pale, man. It really is. We busted some ISIS terrorists yesterday. Todd Blanche, Attorney General of America, top cover-upper of the Epstein files, says thanks to the great work of the FBI and law enforcement partners, an alleged terror plot against the New York State Capitol was prevented last night. According to the complaint, the defendant swore allegiance to ISIS and planned to carry out a future deadly attack with explosives on the New York Capitol building while senators were meeting there. Thankfully, this scheme was disrupted, potentially saving many lives. Huh? Turns out the FBI gave her the bomb and the gun and the funds to spend at Home Depot. The government literally encouraged and enabled this terror plot in order to foil it. One day, they'll have to admit this, how the J5, J6 pipe bomb happened. It's just so freaking... Arrest the freaking FBI and DOJ. The government is organized crime syndicate. It's just... They set this dupe woman up, dressed in the beekeeper suit, thinks she's working for ISIS. You're working for the FBI, fool. And there she is taking surveillance photos. It's just so freaking painfully stupid. But thankfully, Palantir is there to also help in saving us from the terror they create. Palantir Androl partner with the U.S. State Department for Digital Freedom of Expression program, and they get off on the double link Orwellian doublespeak, obviously mocking the public here now. Digital Freedom of Expression program coming out of Palantir and Androl. Both firms are known for producing tools for mass surveillance and AI operated autonomous weapons, but they care about our digital freedom of expression. The State Department is partnering with Palantir and Androl, tech companies known for providing mass surveillance and AI weapons technologies, on a project to protect freedom of expression. Foreign Policy magazine reported yesterday. Under the freedom, it's I'm sorry, it's laughable. It would be funny. I guess it's gallows humor here. They're turning the screws on technocracy right now and calling it freedom of expression. It doesn't get more Orwellian than this. Under the Freedom Tech Excellence Program, employees from Palantir and Anduril will work limited term assignments at the State Department. This is your corporate fascist government merging here now. According to a statement on the agency's website, assignments will include work in areas related to, quote, digital freedom and freedom of expression, including cybersecurity, emerging technologies, data privacy, child online protection, artificial intelligence, and technology policy and governance. And an anonymous State Department spokesman told Foreign Policy magazine, the partnership, they even say it in this article, I didn't even read this, the partnership is Orwellian, you think? Yeah. Given that Palantir is known for developing software enabling mass surveillance by government, including allowing users to track, detain, and in the context of war, kill people at scale with the help of AI. UK Guardian wrote. Here's flashback to a Palantir presenter. This was what, probably 6 months ago now, telling us how great the AI kill machine is.
This is Maven Smart System, Palantir's software as a service product that we are deploying across the entire department. As you can see, it's not just one data feed, it's multiple. And instead of having 8 or 9 systems for those decision makers to look at every single day in order for them to make decisions, you then fuse it into a single visualization tool. The single visualization tool allows you to select, deselect different types of data, look at different approaches to data, but more importantly, action from the same system that you're trying to develop your workflows around. Once you have a detection that you want to actually move into a targeting workflow, for example, this is what we do. Left click, right click, left click, magically, it becomes a detection. That detection then gets moved into a workflow. This is standard digitized workflow, but I want to walk you through it quickly. You have different types of targets that are identified on the left there. Every single column produces a different type of decision-making process. Once you have that decision and you're trying to actually action that process, we now move into COA generation, course of action generation, where we are automatically, via a number of factors, trying to identify what the best asset to prosecute a target looks like. Once we've got the different approaches and we select one, we then can move directly into how do we action that target. So we've gone from identifying the target to now coming up with a course of action to now actioning that target, all from one system. This is revolutionary. We were having this done in about 8 or 9 systems where humans were literally moving detections left and right in order to get to our desired end state. In this case, actually closing a kill chain.
Closing the kill chain, very exciting there. We're increasing the efficiency of our lethality. Palantir technology played a key role in Aardvark Land's genocide of the Palestinians in Gaza. That's why it's so key, because you could say, I hate the Muslims, I freaking hate the Palestinians, I hope they all die. They're gonna use this against us here. That's the freaking point. Doesn't matter if you hate Muslims and hate freaking Palestinians and wish them all dead and cheer on Palantir's freaking closing of the kill chain. It's coming for us here, bro. That's the problem. I know it could never happen here, except for they did round up Japanese Americans and put them in internment camps in World War II, for God's sake. Couldn't happen here. We just lived through the bad times. Couldn't happen here. It's already happened here, bro. Now they're rolling out Palantir and drill kill chain close systems via the State Department. Continuing here, its programs use vast amounts of publicly and privately sourced data to detect patterns and are particularly helpful in projects of mass surveillance, forced migration, and urban warfare. Meanwhile, Anduril is known for manufacturing weapon systems, including drones, missiles, and unmanned aircraft. The company's core product is Lattice software, which uses AI to operate nearly autonomous drones, surveillance cameras, and underwater vessels. It isn't clear why these types of private sector partners have any expertise on freedom of expression. Said Chris Painter, a former cybersecurity official at the FBI, State Department, and the White House. Well, they're there to do the exact opposite in Orwellian fashion, obviously. For the U.S. President Donald Trump administration to recruit from the same firms that are under scrutiny for their surveillance practices, I find the whole thing totally head-scratching, said Steve Feldstein, a senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Are these dupes ever going to get it? They're building scientific dictatorship technocracy at Operation Warp Speed, the Greater North America Project, right now. For God's sake, Carnegie Endowment, pull your head out of your ass, and the rest of you clowns. Man. Palantir and Anduril employees will work at the State Department for 1 year with an option of an extension and will not receive a salary from the State Department. The anonymous spokesman said they just want to build out technocracy out of the goodness of their heart for public safety, I'm sure. My God, what a nightmare here. There's another video about it. Palantir Technologies, a U.S.-based AI firm co-founded by Peter Thiel and Alex Karp, supplies aardvark land with tools to enhance the targeting of Palestinians. Watch this short clip about it here.
When Silicon Valley's algorithms become instruments of genocide, we can no longer consider tech neutral. It's a weapon. Palantir Technologies, a US-based AI giant, fuels Israel's occupation and genocide with calculated precision. Co-founded by the billionaire Peter Thiel, it planted its roots in Tel Aviv in 2015. Palantir has embedded itself within the Israeli military and intelligence operations, sealing a high-profile partnership in early 2024 during the ongoing genocide in Gaza. Its AI-driven predictive policing tools are weaponized to surveil Palestinians across the occupied West Bank and Gaza Strip, flagging individuals for arbitrary detention without trial, a practice the United Nations condemns as a systematic violation of international law. Palantir's technology forms the digital backbone of the Zionist regime. While claiming accuracy, the AI system enables strikes that slaughter civilians, as witnessed in the horrific bombardment of Rafah refugee camp, where Palestinian families and humanitarian workers were massacred. Co-founder and CEO Alex Karp's vocal support for Israel's military campaign reveals the company's ideological alignment with the genocide of Palestinians, even as major institutional investors divest over blatant human rights abuses. This partnership, like with many other tech companies such as Google and Microsoft, exposes the sector's deep complicity in sustaining Israel's genocide and occupation, with Palantir among the top corporations fueling Israel's war economy and global impunity.
And you could say, I love all of that. Kill all the damn Muslims, kill all the Palestinians, take all their land. I love it all. It's coming for us here. You understand? They're using Gaza, the whole area there now, as a military laboratory. That's the big problem here. And we should have basic human decency and say that genocide against innocent civilians is wrong and evil as well. Just saying. But you don't even need to go there. Do it out of have some pushback here against Palantir, some concern about their activities, because it can and will be used here against us in America. You see. Amazing. Here it is out of the State Department. Freedom Tech Excellence Program. The Freedom Tech Excellence Program is a partnership between the U.S. Department of State and private sector organizations committed to advancing U.S. goals, including in digital freedom and freedom of expression globally. So that means get ready for a bunch of AI censorship. Man, these guys are crazy, man. Joining partners include Palantir, Androl, Victims of Communist Memorial Foundation, Bitcoin Policy Institute. That's an interesting one there. Goals of the program. It's a collaborative effort between the State Department and private sector organizations to advance diplomatic efforts on digital freedom and freedom of expression. Partner organizations send their employees to the State Department to contribute private sector expertise on issues such as First Amendment and freedom of expression protections in the digital age, countering unlawful digital surveillance and online scams, privacy enhancing technologies, including strong encryption and VPNs, responsible governance of emerging technologies, including AI, safeguarding children and other users online. Call me skeptical, but it's like exactly the opposite of everything they say. UK government under pressure to terminate $500 million Palantir deal. Greater Manchester's refusal to adopt Palantir's health data platform has strengthened arguments for UK politicians pushing for an early exit from the $400 million NHS contract there in the UK. Well, they should probably be sanctioning drones, right? Sure. The UK government is undergoing pressure to abandon a more than $400 million NHS contract with Palantir. MPs push for a break. A bipartisan group of UK politicians said in June that reliance on Palantir represented an unacceptable point of weakness and urged the government to seek domestic alternatives. A separate parliamentary committee echoed those concerns the following month. In July, Palantir is evidently not the only show in town, said one MP. The political scrutiny has intensified as Palantir's technology has been deployed in theaters of war and in the U.S. administration's crackdown on immigration. Palantir pushes back. Palantir disputes claims that Greater Manchester system offers a viable national alternative. The company says thousands of NHS staff already use the FDP and argues that the system is designed to connect data across hospitals, care boards, and national NHS bodies. NHS figures show 139 of roughly 200 trusts are live with Palantir technology, while 35 of England's 36 integrated care boards are actively using it. So they're already deep up in there, as they are deep up in our government. So, yeah, it's going to be a hell of a thing to unwind. It's going to be a hell of a thing to unwind, it appears. UN now doing business with Palantir as well. The World Food Program to extend Palantir contract despite concerns raised in audio. They're like, we're trying to feed these starving Palestinians. Well, we're trying to whack them, bro. Let's become partners. Like, what? The UN's World Food Program is finalizing a 5-year renewal of its contract with U.S. data software firm Palantir, despite key privacy concerns raised in a leaked 2025 internal audit. The audit seen by Pass Blue and France 24 reveals UN misgivings about allowing Palantir to process data for the world's largest humanitarian supply chain. You think? How about 1984 satanic inversion of reality? We're there. We're there. How the hell does the World Food Program sign up with Palantir? They did. They are. It's concerning. to say the least. The World Food Program manages one of the biggest biometric databases in the world. Its SCOPE system contains information on millions of people, many of them beneficiaries of global humanitarian aid. To help the World Food Program track humanitarian aid and manage its supply chain data, Palantir developed the Digital Operations and Transformation System, DOTS. A cyber attack on the Rome-based World Food Program in May exposed sensitive data on thousands of aid beneficiaries in Gaza, underscoring concerns about data protection. However, the World Food Program said the attack was limited to its self-registration application for Palestine, where displaced people can sign up for aid, but which has no direct connection to Palantir software. Some World Health Program personnel have expressed concern that data from the UN agency on beneficiaries could be used to train Palantir's data system. Some are also apprehensive about partnering with a software company whose technologies have reportedly been used by U.S. authorities in immigration enforcement and military forces for lethal operations in the Middle East, notably in Iran and Gaza. To quote CEO of Palantir, Alex Karp, the product is used on occasion to kill people. Amazing. Amazing. More details about that out of this France 24 report. We'll post the link on Weaponized News Substack for those that want to do a deep dive. Here's an ode to Peter Thiel.
Google it. Interviewer asked Peter Thiel if the human race should survive. He hesitated.
There you go. Ode to Peter Thiel. Amazing. House Oversight Democrats, they say, are you a crook? Donate to Trump to collect your get out of jail free card. That's what it's becoming here now. That's what it's actually becoming. Here, House Oversight Dems say less than a month before the 2024 election, Trevor Milton and his wife donated $1.8 million to Trump. Months later, pardoned, convicted fraudster. I'm sure it's fine. How many of these they got? Paul Walzak, pleaded guilty to tax crimes, but after his mother donated $1 million, he received a pardon from Trump. Trump's just, undoing the wrongdoings. Has nothing to do with these donations. This guy got a cheap one. Jack Abramoff, associate and convicted fraudster Adam Caden, donated $270,000 to get a Trump pardon. That's a pretty good deal, I would say. Don't get stuck in jail. You too can pass go as long as Trump collects his millions. See, Trump, you're messing it. You're going to piss off. Trump's getting to the point. I don't know. Maybe he is playing the 174D chess here, but he's blowing U.S. protection racket. And you can't just, it seems like he's pissing off some people here now, stepping on some toes in the whole racketeering operation known as the U.S. government. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Trump rivals plot public Epstein hearings and tidal wave of investigations targeting the president and his family after midterm elections. Report out of who are these guys? Radar Online. They say Trump has more reasons to worry about a possible Democrat takeover following the upcoming midterm elections. House Democrats are already making plans to target Trump, his administration, his family with a tidal wave of investigations if things go their way during the November elections. All signs point toward it. There is going to be a giant blue wave. And by the way, for those out there wondering, I don't support any politician, any political party. Hell, I don't even support the government. They're all criminals. So make no mistake about it here at Weaponized News. We're nonpartisan against all government. All right. Democrats are licking their lips at the possibility of a blue wave sweeping into Congress and would love to test out any new power they gain. And at the top of the list are open hearings in regards to Jeffrey Epstein. So, yeah. And we have a bunch of other Trump corrupt dealings here. So there's a plethora of crimes and corruption for Democrats to pick from. Of course, they'll all be bogus bullshit because they're doing the same thing. They never give us the real meat because that would cause them to, they would set the precedent and it would screw up their rackets. You see, Trump's DOJ walloped by a federal judge with demand over missing Epstein files. They keep rerunning this story in the mainstream. Well, the same one about Judge Sullivan. Judge Sullivan has ordered the Department of Justice and Todd Blanche to respond by Thursday to latest motion in Katie Fang's lawsuit, which seeks release of more Epstein files. And so that was reported earlier today. Blanche and his agency must answer for why they haven't sufficiently turned over FBI agent interview notes. As the Epstein files cover-up continues, led by Trump's Department of Justice. We'll see. I'm sure they'll weasel their way out of any accountability. We'll see if they produce these documents next Thursday. They claim here's the deadline set by federal district judge Emmett Sullivan. We'll see. This thing's dragging on forever, man. I'm telling you. And if Democrats win the midterms, it looks like they will. It's going to drag on 2 more years. But they're not looking for justice for the public. They're just as corrupt as Trump and the Republicans, you see. And so they're doing it for political ends, not for justice for the victims or justice for the public. So make no mistake about it. These Democrats are no big, great heroes. Ecuadorian gang tattooed minors with mark of the beast before sex trafficking them. Police dismantle network in Manabí, accused of recruiting vulnerable teens, taking them to nightclubs and motels and forcing them into sex exploitation. Here's the image of that. Giant trafficking networks all over, still operating here now. Todd Blanche, well, we'll play the video. Todd Blanche is responsible for the Epstein Files cover-up, as we continue to cover here.
New today, the ranking member of House Oversight is now demanding Todd Blanche be brought before the committee to answer questions about the DOJ's Epstein investigation. Congressman Robert Garcia calling on Chairman James Comer to, quote, stand by his word and force Blanche to testify. Back in July, Chairman Comer said he wanted Blanche to appear before the committee as soon as he was confirmed as Attorney General. In a new...
Is it going to make a difference? He's just going to double talk his way around it. He is a lawyer. And then, quite laughable, here's Mr. Technocracy, J.D. Vance, Vice President, says, this is what we're up against in November, child predators. It's literally his own administration covering up the Epstein files.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what we're up against in November. Whether it's child predators, Somali fraudsters, foreign gang members, or even visa fraudsters who are working to undercut American wages and steal from American taxpayers, the Democrats know who they stand for. It's anyone but you.
This entire government is corrupt beyond our wildest imagination. It's truly disgusting and sad. All right, friends, give me that like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. We covered quite a bit of news in that first hour. Everybody go to weaponizednews.com/shop. Get yourself a holograph sticker there. We have the white background sticker as well, and the clear background sticker. That's a demo model. You'll get a new one. You can see that one's kind of tore up. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Take a look at the store. We have the stickers over there, baseball caps, coffee mugs, long sleeve tank tops, all kind of different gear over there. Go take a look. We have shot glasses, as some say. This show may induce heavy bouts of drinking. Weaponizednews.com/shop. Go take a look over there. I would appreciate it. Patron the store. We take donations as well. Buy me a coffee, Bitcoin wallet address, Cash App links, all in the description below this video. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack channel. We're streaming there live now. Everything's free. Show your support for independent reporting and analysis brought to you 5 days a week, broadcasting live Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 Eastern Time. Become a paid subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. You'll get the full show, a summary of the show, and links to almost everything we talk about for further research and documentation purposes at Weaponized News Substack. The link is in the description below the video. Thank you to all the subscribers, patrons of the store, and donors. We do appreciate it, but we always need more here in the Trump economy. Things are getting rough for everyone. I understand that. If you can't come out of the pocket with a little extra change for this broadcast, become a free subscriber of Weaponized News Substack. You'll get all the same info. Again, you're just paying to show your support here for our efforts. And we put everything back into the broadcast, as we do have overhead costs here as well. So give me the like, share, subscribe, push that notification button. All of that is free. All right. Thanks for hanging with me through that first hour of news. Welcome back to the second half of Weaponized News on this Friday, August 21st, 2026 edition. Now here's some good news. How about this question? Do you even want to live to be 117 years old? World's oldest person, Ethel Carterham, celebrates her 117th birthday. I don't know if I even want. Hell, I'm 50 and I freaking have aches and pains all the time. Imagine being 117. Bless her heart, though. Bless her heart there. The world's oldest person, a British woman, Ethel Carterham, celebrates her 117th birthday earlier today. Honestly, she don't look that bad for 117. You know what I mean? Do you even want to live to be 117? I don't know, man. Yeah, think about what she's seen. She's seen World War I, World War II, the sinking of the Titanic, the Russian Revolution, the bat times. Wow. Surprised she lived through the bat times. But bless her heart there. Oldest person in the world celebrates 117 today. All right, back to where I'm broadcasting from, California. What do you even say about this insane, corrupt government in California? New rules will limit the types of replacement tires Californians can buy. Here's a report out of CTLA. It's all for the environment or own good. They're turning the screws on technocracy here in California.
New state rules will restrict which tires you can buy when it's time to replace them on your car. The California Energy Commission voted to adopt new rules that will phase out the sale of replacement tires that don't meet certain energy efficiency standards. The regulations will be implemented in 2 phases. The first phase in 2029, the second in 2033. The commission says raising the standards will only cause a modest increase in tire prices, which they say will be recouped by improved fuel efficiency. But tire manufacturers disagree.
You think about how much gas is per gallon, and we don't see it going down. So what those tires with low rolling resistance do is they give you better gas mileage. So if you get better gas mileage, you're going to the gas station less, so you're buying less gallons of gas.
New state rules.
But the manufacturers say that's not true. But this clown woman, I forget even her name, she knows better than the manufacturers in the industry. We're just turning the screws on us here. They want to get us out of cars altogether. They want everybody on some type of freaking, autonomous public transport system. I don't see with all the corruption how that could ever come to fruition, but they're turning the screws on us, making life harder and harder every year here now. I would expect your other great liberal states to take a look at this policy, and they may be implementing it soon in an area near you. AI delivers the largest CapEx driven boost to the GDP in history. It's all fraud. But here you go. That's what's propping up our economy. Fraud, as per usual, in the private Federal Reserve, and bring back sound money, however that may look. Not saying go 100% gold standard, but this level of fraud is unacceptable. So, look at the industrial revolutions, canals, railroads, electrification, highways, telecom and fiber, and then AI build out that literally helps technocracy, scientific dictatorship. More from JD Vance, Mr. Technocracy. Spider-Man meme, blame Biden. Well, Trump was president during the bat times and gave us Operation Warp Speed.
Even though we inherited this debt bomb from the Biden administration, we actually do have a plan to get the economy growing faster than the debt. And that's the most important thing. The issue that we've had under the Biden administration.
We're not growing our way out of this one, bro. And he got fact-checked on the X. This is supposed to buy the White House. You can see they got fact-checked here. U.S. national debt rose by $7.8 trillion during Trump's first term, and similarly, $8 trillion plus during Biden's, per Treasury data and analyses. It has increased under presidents of both parties for decades. The debt to GDP relatively stable under Biden. Get that? Under both parties, the government are criminals. Here's Trump, America first. Oh no, sorry, he lied about that too. President Trump announces a deal to sell 300,000 pounds of beef at a 25% discount to market price as beef prices hit record highs. Today, I concluded a deal to substantially lower the price of ground beef for working American families. As everyone knows, under President Biden, beef prices soared at their fastest rate. That's just not true. According to my own personal experience shopping for my own groceries, I saw a $4 increase in beef prices under President Trump. Personal experience here. And the American beef herd fell to its smallest size in modern history. As we work to rebuild this herd and help our ranchers, for the next 90 days, the United States will allow up to 30,000 metric tons of product for ground beef to be imported with no out of quota tariff. We have a commitment that this beef will be sold at 25% below current market prices. This deal will reduce prices for Americans while giving space for our great American beef herd to grow again. Well, what does the beef industry have to say about this? Well, they're calling Trump out because he's full of shit. Cattle ranchers across the country are accusing Donald Trump of betraying them after he said he'll temporarily ease tariffs on beef imports in an attempt to cut high food prices before November's midterm elections. Trump's plan is apparently to cut tariffs on 300,000 tons of ground beef imports for the next 90 days as part of a, quote, deal that would see foreign producers slash prices by 25%. Colin Woodall, chief executive of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, says while America's cattle producers share the goal of keeping groceries affordable for consumers, flooding the market with government subsidized below market beef is not the way to rebuild the American cattle herd. Good Ranchers posted on X. We understand why beef prices are a problem right now. Ground beef is averaging $6.89 a pound, up 57% since 2021, and that's real pressure on American families. But flooding the market with 300,000 metric tons of imported ground beef with no tariffs for 90 days is not a solution for American ranchers. It's a short-term price fix that puts more downward pressure on the cattle producers who are already struggling to stay viable. Trump has not said which countries this beef is coming from or who committed to the 25% price reduction he's promising. American cattle ranchers have been dealing with years of drought, high feed costs, and a shrinking herd. The answer to that is not more cheap imported beef with lower standards competing against them on our shelves with no country of origin label required so you don't even know the difference. We will continue to source 100% American. That is not changing. Good Ranchers posted. So they're doing shrinkflation is now turned into they're just straight up lying. Shrinkflation, you could say, it's not. It's kind of shady, but not 100% just straight up stealing from you. You know, they shrink the package down. Or you have the same size box, but less quantity. Wall Street Apes posted this report about Walmart for shorting package weights. Let's watch this short report about that. How they're lying about the weight of product that you're paying for, essentially, here now.
This pack of Walmart chicken is already underweight in the package, and you're not going to believe by how much. I'm going to show you, then we're going to open it up and see how much the chicken weighs. That's what we're supposed to be paying for. Out of all the stores that I have found them in so far, one store I weighed 21 packages, and 11 of them were underweight up to a 1/4 ounce. The package I'm about to show you is the biggest short-weighted so far. All right, let's calibrate our scale. 100 gram weight, 100 grams. All right, here we go. This is supposed to weigh 5.5 pounds, 5.5 pounds out of the package. 4.92. All right, as you can see, I've already teared our container up. We're sitting at 0. Here's our pack of chicken. Let's see what we get. I'm curious to see what this pad weighs and the container as well. There's liquid in there.
Well, you should have lab grown chicken, right?
4.24 pounds. That's just about 1.25 pounds short of 5.50. That's insane. All right, let's see how much the packaging weighs. 0.730 of a pound. All right, let's see how much this pad weighs. The absorbent pad is coming in at 0.550. That's over 1/2 pound itself. So technically, all this fluid in this pad was in the chicken when it was weighed at the factory, so we're going to give them this weight. 4 pounds, 7-8 ounces.
You guys want to know something wild about this? Is Walmart has been brought to court multiple times about their product weights being short. August 2025, Walmart paid out about $6 million in a California judgment over allegations of overcharging and false weight advertising. What a shocker. This is what we see all the time. And if we go down here, it happened again. A class action lawsuit. Walmart settled for $45 million in a class action lawsuit covering weighted goods, including poultry, meat, bagged citrus, for alleged overcharges tied to weight and pricing discrepancies, exactly what we see all the time. So this is a pattern. This is not something that just keeps happening. And I think they're doing it on purpose, because take a look at this.
It's a feature, not a bug. Of course they're doing it on purpose. So now we got to weigh our products here to make sure we're getting what we pay for according to their what is listed there, right? I mean, come on, man. Okay, so what's happening now in gold and crypto? What is happening in gold and crypto? Let's take a look. Well, let's watch this short report from Fox Business Channel.
Yeah, and I think, the 10-year is back to 4.6. I think rate hike expectations are way too aggressive right now. I think we could end the year without any hikes at all. And on the flip side, gold is starting to find support around 4,000. The dollar has been very strong. I think it's due for a pullback. And if anything less than the extreme hawkishness that's expected by the Fed materializes, I think gold and bonds are going to be very strong. Gold remains strong from a geopolitical and as well as an uncertainty perspective for safe haven investors. And these are some.
Well, today gold is at $4,602. Silver up as well, $68.95. Bitcoin way up, 78,000 for Bitcoin. This is the era of U.S. Treasury intervention elevated inflation, and record deficit spending. So investors are looking for safe haven assets. Obviously, used to be U.S. Treasuries. Now that is questionable after U.S. intervention into the market. Didn't really do a whole damn much bit of good, as we reported yesterday. They tried to intervene in the market. They did intervene, and the interest rate actually went up on returns on 10-year bonds, as reported yesterday. Now we're getting into copper. The copper trade is heating up. FCX, a copper stock, is at all-time highs today. You can see right here, reported by Unusual Whales. Now copper's way up. All these inputs, industrial inputs, are going way up. 60% of parents say food prices are a major barrier to saving for their children's education. Maybe just teach them at home ec there and save on the education. Yeah, Bitcoin went up above 79,000 today. It went down a little bit. It's trading overseas, like I said, at 78. Extremely volatile as per usual, as per Bitcoin, but making a little bit of a bullish run today. And this number still blows my mind, man. We reported on the last 2 days here. Now, U.S. national debt hits 40 trillion. We got that, but rising by $90,000 a second. That's still just like, yeah, I should just get over it, right? But it's like, damn, man, $90,000 a second. That's a lot of freaking money still, a second. We're paying on the national debt. Building out technocracy here. So that's really all we have is scientific dictatorship technocracy.
Micron is spending $50 billion to build 2 new memory factories in Boise. You saw them behind Kramer there. It says these are going to create 17,000 of those new jobs. And like you just heard Sanjay say, 3,500 of those are going to be directly with Micron. And that's a lot of new employees.
That's how they lie, you see. Yeah, there's a bunch of there's a job boom during construction, and you're laid off because you finished the construction of your spy center there, your data center, and now you're laid off, construction workers, and yeah, maybe we'll have 3,000 there working until AI takes those jobs. Josh Kushner, not Jared Kushner, Josh Kushner, let's watch this report, was actually the first billionaire Kushner. Corporate media loves to describe him as a liberal, but he's actually a vulture venture capitalist who created a healthcare company with the highest denial rates of any ACA insurer. He's also a slumlord, an AI weapons investor, and now the new owner of the Lakers. Let's watch Josh Kushner report here now. Aren't they all such lovely humanitarians? He's a good liberal.
Kushner's had a busy summer. First, he tried and failed to buy a piece of the World Cup, and now he's succeeded in buying the Los Angeles Lakers. No, not Jared Kushner, his younger brother, Josh. The press likes to portray Josh as the good Kushner brother, a lifelong Democrat with a guilty conscience. He marched with Parkland victims. He says that liberal values have guided his life.
The good Kushner brother. They're all freaking pure evil, ultra-Zionist evil bastards.
But when we dug into it, we found just another craven economic elite. Josh was actually the first billionaire Kushner brother, money he made largely at the expense of ordinary Americans. Forbes describes him as a liberal who co-founded a health insurance company built around Obamacare before his brother Jared's father-in-law Donald Trump became president.
See, he wants poor people to have health insurance.
The real story is that when Josh was 24 and a student at Harvard Business School, he founded his own venture capital firm called Thrive Capital. His first big business play was to create a private insurance company that operates through the Obamacare exchanges, and that company has the highest denial rate of any major ACA insurer. Basically, Kushner figured out a way to collect publicly subsidized premiums from people who don't get insurance through their job and then deny a quarter of their claims.
So racketeering, as per usual.
He and Jared raked it in as the co-owners of the real estate company behind the Kushnerville slum operation in Baltimore. But lately, he's gone all in on AI. Josh's fund Thrive invested in AI weapons company and DoReal, which then maximized his investment with a $20 billion defense contract earlier this year. And Thrive Capital is one of OpenAI's biggest and closest investors. Josh has even been called Sam Altman's fundraising Sherpa. Kushner stuck by Altman's side through an attempted ouster in 2023. And Altman rewarded that loyalty with a sweetheart deal, allowing Thrive to keep buying OpenAI shares at an old fixed price while the valuation exploded. It gets worse. Josh set up a second company called Thrive Holdings, which buys up ordinary service companies, accounting, IT, and automates the work with OpenAI products. And OpenAI took a stake in Thrive Holdings too, which means that OpenAI and Thrive are invested in each other, and both of them get richer as the automation spreads. It's a circular, self-serving deal that comes at the direct expense of white-collar workers who are losing their jobs to AI. And that brings us back to the Lakers sale. The press predictably has implied Kushner's motivation by calling him an avid sports fan. But the sale was about business, not pleasure, specifically the business of AI. In a letter to investors last week, Kushner said he believes that AI is going to ruin so many experiences that people will increasingly value the remaining things that can't be automated. By purchasing the Lakers, Kushner is betting that the AI he's helping spread will degrade everything else so much that people will pay even more for things it can't replace, like sports. And he wants to be able to profit from that, too.
All these bastard Zionists, man, they're all running rackets akin to Howard Lutnick gaming the tariffs. He's building AI to ruin your life. And so you want something that's not faking gay. Oh, go watch the faking gay LA Lakers play basketball. At least it's not a robot. Creating apocalyptic hellscape and profiteering off of it. The Zionist business model. Geo Group contributed $1.4 million to MAGA Inc., a super PAC supporting President Donald Trump last month. It's just weeks after the company secured 2 5-year Department of Homeland Security contracts to operate ICE detention facilities in Colorado and North Carolina worth $165 million in annual revenue, according to Federal Election Commission records reviewed by The Lever. The news comes despite Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment recently sued Geo Group, forcing the company to allow state inspectors to investigate a tuberculosis outbreak at one of its private prisons. All insider dealings, all profiteering off the back of you and I. The art of the self-deal report here out of Wall Street Journal. The art of the self-deal. No, you don't say. Not Trump. He's for Americans. It couldn't be. Well, it turns out it is. Trump and his administration are self-dealing criminals. A clear majority of Americans see inappropriate profit and influence in the Trump administration. A recent Reuters poll found that 69% of respondents believe Trump's personal business interests influence his presidential decisions. This included roughly 2/3 of independents, half of Republicans, and 9 out of 10 of Democrats. A related finding was that most Americans, around 63%, in related polling coverage, viewed Trump family crypto profits as inappropriate. 2 primary categories of concern identified in this Wall Street Journal article, 2 general areas: a one, personal enrichment of Trump and his family; two, the use of government power and levers of power to satisfy private goals, rewarding friends, punishing enemies, or advancing personal business interests, and or I would add, pay for play, donate to Trump, get a pardon, as we've seen now in many cases. Dramatic and don't forget, Trump has promised his administration blanket pardons all the way down to the janitor. So he basically told him with a wink and a nod, go commit any crime you want. Don't worry about it. I have the power of presidential pardon. I will bestow upon you blanket immunity for all of your crimes. Don't ever forget that. Dramatic surge in personal and family net worth. Recent reports show Trump's net worth and that of his family have risen sharply in his second term. This is not presented as ordinary market gains for wealthy people. Wall Street Journal says that Trump's businesses have taken positions in industries over which the administration holds regulatory or policy power. Regulation and policy bent toward family business interest. Wall Street Journal points to the rewriting of regulations in ways that suit family ventures and the facilitation of foreign investment into those ventures. America first. One specific illustration referenced in the Wall Street Journal article is a United Arab Emirates national security advisor holding an interest in Trump family crypto projects. The scale and method of enrichment described is appalling. Wall Street Journal characterizes the size and means of this enrichment with a pointed rhetorical sequence: dubious, careless of appearance, appalling. The column treats the appearance of self-dealing as itself damaging, independent of any formal legal findings. Government power used to favor allies and pressure opponents beyond pure enrichment. The Wall Street Journal cites numerous reports of bending, testing, or working around legal and institutional norms. Examples include payments to people in Trump's orbit to lobby for presidential pardons, the launch of unusual investigations, and pressure applied to law firms and media companies. Striking absence of broad public outrage. What would once have been an all-encompassing scandal now produces little sustained fervor. Wall Street Journal attributes this to several factors. Corruption is widely viewed as a constant in politics. The reflexive defense that the other side is dirty too, and dramatically higher scandal threshold has been brought forth by Trump. Corruption is changing Americans as a people. Wall Street Journal's core concern is not only the acts themselves, but the deeper effect. The Journal writes that governmental corruption in this era leaves people not only indignant, but uneasy, and suspects it is doing something to us as a people, eroding norms, expectations, and a shared sense of what is acceptable in public life. Again, the government, all of them are an organized crime syndicate. If America can ever get these basic facts through their head, then maybe they'd pull their head out of their rear end. Vote harder, bro. Contrast with America's historical self-image, Wall Street Journal invokes a past national character. We were the morally rectitious doughboy GI Marshall planning JFK and Ronnie people who made the wall come down, earlier generations, the journal argues, at least tried to live up to the reputation or at least have some class. The current pattern of self-dealing and public indifference stands in stark contrast to that ideal. Long-term foreign policy and reputational cost, unchecked self-dealing, and the public's muted response carry international consequences. The journal warns that one day the United States will need friends and may instead encounter satisfied spite of the previously jealous. The erosion of moral reputation, the journal suggests, undermines Americans' ability to lead and to call on alliances when it matters. Again, Trump is blowing the U.S. protection racket here now. On to AAA national average for the price of a gallon of gasoline, $4.11. You can see right there on this Friday, August 21st, 2026. Now let's take a look at Brown University Iran War Energy Cost Tracker. Since the beginning of the Iran War, February 28, 2026, the total consumer cost burden of the Iran War is now very hateful, actually. $88.8 billion. Get it? 88 there. And then the per household cost burden spread across both diesel and gasoline, you can see, is $677.99. Hashtag I can't afford groceries, bro. So we control the Strait of Hormuz, but all of the data says that's a lie. Data from British Maritime Monitoring Authorities confirms that commercial ship traffic through the Persian Gulf and Strait of Hormuz plummeted to just 4% of pre-war levels during the height of the U.S.-Iran war, reflecting a near total paralysis of regional shipping corridors. More than 1,500 ships stranded in Strait of Hormuz risk triggering global biological invasions. More than 1,500 large commercial vessels stranded in the Strait of Hormuz following its closure February 28, 2026 could trigger a global wave of biological invasions, according to a new study published by the Journal of Biological Invasions. Prolonged stationary periods during peak spring and summer reproductive seasons have allowed extensive biofouling consisting of maritime microorganisms, algae, and invertebrates to develop rapidly on the hulls of these ships. Professor Mario Tamburi of University of Maryland, the study's lead author, told Anadolu Agency that the situation represents a, quote, worst case scenario. When these vessels finally resume their voyages, they risk functioning as super spreaders of invasive species to international ports, threatening both local marine ecosystems and global economic activities. Who cares? Just blow them all up, right? Blow up the whole world. That's our foreign policy now. We negotiate with bombs, according to Secretary of War Hegseth. The Panama Canal, another global choke point here. They're engineering a global energy crisis, i.e. engineering a global famine. The Panama Canal is now limiting cargo capacity twice in the coming weeks to lighten ships, citing low water levels due to an El Nino drought. And with less freight moving per vessel, carriers are hiking supercharges to $1,000 per container. Let's watch this report about the old Panama Canal there. I guess there's not much to report. It's just showing you. It is striking the way they get these giant ships through there. But yeah, now you can't ship through the Strait of Hormuz, through the Red Sea, Al Babdad, right? You can't even ship through there, or it's extremely dangerous. I guess you can if you risk being shot by U.S., Iran, Houthis, who the hell else, Somali pirates, who knows? It's a dangerous freaking neighborhood over there. So, of course, the Panama Canal now cuts ship traffic during a El Nino drought. The canal handles about 5% of global shipping and about 40% of U.S. container traffic. Turning the screws everywhere, man. On the Russia-Ukraine war now. They're running out of Ukrainians to kill over there on the front line, tragically enough. Former Ukrainian Defense Minister Rezhikev called for mandatory military service for women, citing the Aardvark land model, because everyone wants to be a model Zionist state, obviously, and be in compliance with Aardvark evil. He said gender equality means women must also serve in the army. They can fill many rear and logistics positions, freeing men to move closer to the front so they can get whacked even faster. My God, in this brutal Russia-Ukraine war, no signs of it ending. Swedish television accidentally captures the unvarnished reality of Ukrainian journalists from SVT stumbling onto a brutal conscription raid playing out live behind their backs. Recruitment officers were seen wrestling a screaming Ukrainian man to the ground while he shouted, "Help me," as the cameras rolled. Here's that incident in Ukraine.
Ja, här grips en man som ska mobiliseras.
Mannen som släpas har precis sprungit förbi oss, tätt följd av en man i uniform.
Yeah, they really are grabbing Ukrainians off the streets and throwing them in the front lines over there in the Russia-Ukraine war. It really is happening. There's video after 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 video of it going on there. But this case was special, being caught live on Swiss television. Russian airstrike hits Ukrainian oil depot in Kiev, owned by a regional supplier, KLO. They're both blowing the hell out of each other's petroleum production capacity here. Blew the hell out of this oil refinery in the Ukraine, and Ukraine's returning the favor, blowing the hell out of Russian refineries and oil production capacity. The mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, is accused by the Ukrainian press of operating a large network of human trafficking operation. He is said to run over 100 brothels in Ukraine and sells hundreds of women to the EU and the USA. Klitschko is allegedly living above one of the brothels in Rio, the name of the brothel. The National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine has initiated investigations into Klitschko for corruption and high treason. Russia has no warships in the Mediterranean for the first time in more than a decade as Moscow diverts vessels to protect sanctioned oil tankers from NATO seizures. Western officials say Russia's overstretched surface fleet is in quote shambles, with its permanent Mediterranean task force established in 2013 absent since June. Russia defenseless in Mediterranean for first time in a decade. Headline out of UK Telegraph there. Russian daytime drone strikes hit a shopping mall in Kurivai, Rahai, killing at least 14 people and injuring 121, including 22 children. Ukrainian officials said the attack came in two waves, with a second strike hitting after emergency crews arrived. Here's video of that attack. It needs to a drone crashing into this mall in Ukraine. Needs to stop. Boom. Quite horrific. North Korea deployed 8,500 new troops to Russia, including 400 drone operators, according to Ukrainian intelligence chief, cited by CNN. The drone unit is expected to conduct reconnaissance and strikes against targets inside Ukraine from Russian territory. The remaining personnel include 1,000 engineers and sappers reinforcing rear positions in Russia's Kursk region. Approximately 25,000 North Koreans have rotated through Russia since October 2024. Ukrainian intelligence expects Putin to request up to 50,000 additional North Korean troops in September. Not good, man. It's escalating there. They're blowing the hell out of each other as we continue to cover here at Weaponized News. It's a nightmare in that war. Eric Prince, mercenary fame, Blackwater founder, started Vectus Air Defense Systems with Ukraine firm Swarmer, which holds a 20% stake. Unlike traditional hardware sales, Vectus designs, runs, and updates layered defenses, including detection, electronic warfare, interceptors, and cannons for clients, protecting data centers, energy sites, and military bases. Prince calls it a fix for a huge gap between low-cost drone attacks and pricey defenses, drawing on Swarmer's experience from over 100,000 Ukrainian combat missions. Early interest targets Middle East sites facing Iranian drone threats. They're running around trying to profiteer. They're war profiteers. So yeah, I believe old Mike Huckabee here, he says he's apologizing, trying to apologize away for Aardvark land aggression there in Syria. U.S. Ambassador to Aardvark land, Mike Huckabee, says he doesn't think recent Aardvark land strikes on Syria was intentional. Yeah, it was a mistake. They just bombed Syria on accident.
So it may be different. It's different in that regard. Turkey's a member of NATO. U.S. does have a good relationship with Turkey. But at the same time, that does not preclude the fact that when Turkey begins to move military assets further into Syria, it's not good for Syria. It's not good for Israel. It's not good for the world. So it's a matter of trying to keep some balance and perspective. I don't think it was an intentional. If you look at what actually was done, there were some munitions that were put down on an airfield. No casualties. It was, I would say, a shot across the bow more than it was an attempt to try to start something.
This fucking guy. Oh, it wasn't intentional. They didn't intentionally bomb them. The Aardvark land security establishment didn't like Netanyahu's statement taking responsibility for the Aardvark land strike in Syria. They also didn't like the statement by Aardvark land war minister Katz. They wanted the operation to have a low signature, I-24 reports. Well, it's got a big signature and made international. It's almost created an international incident. Turkish Justice Minister Akin Gerlek says Turkey has requested an Interpol red notice for Aardvark land Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu over charges of genocide. Turkey, a lot of big talk, but they never seem to want to do much. Republic of Turkey Directorate of Communications said Aardvark land's election campaign has fallen under the sway of an irresponsible security-focused populism and a threat politics that is growing ever harsher. The Netanyahu administration's effort to construct Turkey as a new figure of threat is part and parcel of this cheap politics. This threat politics and escalation of tensions pursued for the sake of domestic political rivalry carries serious risk, not only for Aardvark land society, but also for regional and global peace and stability. Turkey, as of yesterday, stands today as well on the side of the oppressed against the oppressor. Come what may, it will steadfastly continue to defend peace, justice, and stability in the region. What does Bibi Netanyahu's office, Shadow President of America's office, have to say about all this? He says Erdogan is an anti-Semitic dictator who has massacred Kurds, harbors Hamas terrorists, occupies half of Cyprus, and jails record numbers of journalists and politicians who oppose them. Side note, Bibi just executes them, but yeah, that's antiseptic, I know. He now seeks to extend his aggression against Aardvark land into Syria. Aardvark land will not tolerate it. Erdogan's pathetic attempt to intimidate the leaders and soldiers of Aardvark land, the only true democracy in the Middle East, will go nowhere. Well, Aardvark land forces are extending their operations, the arson campaign, into Syria now. Reported earlier today by the Cradle, they say local sources report fires engulfing agricultural areas in the northern countryside of Syria's Qantara after Aardvark land occupation forces dropped illumination flares in the vicinity of the area. They're building the Greater Aardvark land project as we continue to report and carrying out massive arson campaigns to those ends. Now in Syria. Full-on attacks there in southern Lebanon. The latest about Aardvark land attacks in southern Lebanon. As of midnight last night, Aardvark land airstrikes in Kafur, Ramon, a bunch of attacks, airstrikes in Ali al-Tiyar Highlands, another airstrike in Montessori, another airstrike in Al-Qantara, Aardvark occupation forces, another airstrike in Kafara, Ramon, and it gives the times here. Here it is. You can see the documentation there, and heavy Aardvark land artillery shelling targeting the vicinity of Ali al-Tayir Highlands, and you can see there that campaign all going on in the AM. At nighttime, you can see right there, and some images of the explosions going off in the background. Aardvark land forces bombarded the strategic Ali Tahir Hill. We reported that. There's video of it. It's explosions at night. I guess it's like a cool fireworks show. If it's you, unless it's you or your property, they're destroying, and then it's quite horrific. The ongoing demolition campaign of southern Lebanon is continuing. 2 Aardvark land airstrikes on Bayat al-Said, southern Lebanon. Video of that. There's a lot, actually. I mean, we have quite a few reports. Aardvark land occupation forces carry out secondary explosion targeting southern Lebanon town of Bar Achit. Quite a big explosion here. It goes on. Aardvark land occupation forces carrying an explosion near Adi Roon, southern Lebanon. Another one. Aardvark land machine gun fire reported originating from Al Qatara toward Tulin. There. Aardvark occupation forces burn residential homes in Biet Yahon. Major Aardvark land explosion between Arnoon and Kahaf, Tibet. Tibenet. Here, giant explosions you can see. They're in the background. Aardvark land artillery shelling and subsequent airstrike. It's a big one here on Barachit, southern Lebanon. Yeah. Aardvark land artillery shelling targeting Hadatha. They're taking it all. There's no ceasefire. I guess the good news, they're not stacking that many bodies. UN reports 94% of Gaza population without proper shelter ahead of winter. Over 70% of the shelters flooded last winter as Aardvark land continues to block the entry of essential aid there in the Gaza Strip. More than 4 out of 5 families in Gaza are living in critical or catastrophic conditions, lacking fuel, energy, and essential household items under the ongoing Aardvark land siege of the Gaza Strip. UN agencies and partners revealed in a report published yesterday. 83% of American doctors who treated children in Gaza emergency rooms reported seeing preteen patients shot in the head or chest. The figure comes from a survey by trauma surgeon Dr. Ferenzo Sidhiwa, featured in a new documentary, American Doctor, An open letter signed by 99 U.S. medical volunteers stated they treated such cases on a regular basis or even daily. They called it impossible to dismiss an incident. One surgeon documented 13 children with single gunshot wounds to the head in just 2 weeks. The documentary also shows the aftermath at hospitals where incubators fell under siege. Here's a clip out of this documentary, American Doctors.
I want to take you through what Gaza looks like when a hospital is totally overwhelmed. You're getting waves of patients. What do you prioritize? What do you have to treat them? You got no pain medicine to give the people whose legs have been blown off.
3 surgeons all working on one little girl for, 2.5 hours? And she's probably going to lose her right leg, and her left arm.
And she's starting to wake up. Let's get her warm. As a Jewish physician, I knew nothing about Gaza. Like most Americans, I thought everybody out here were nothing but terrorists because that's what I was told.
I'm not Israeli, I'm not Palestinian, I'm not Christian, I'm not Muslim, I'm not Jewish. I don't really have any connection to it. But as an American, I just don't want my government involved in crimes.
I'm a Palestinian. I'm not a spokesperson. I'm a human being. I'm a U.S. doctor who wants to see babies like my babies not be killed anymore.
What surprised me most was how the carnage was focused on journalists, healthcare workers, and children. This bomb. Where was that?
That bomb hit the building.
There was a 15-year-old kid ready for discharge that was incinerated.
And if I had gone down and been changing that kid's dressing, there would have been 3 bodies and I would have been one of them.
When they hit a hospital, that's a deep tragedy that people will feel in the community for the foreseeable future. We're just asking that hospitals not be targeted. Why that conversation is derailed in the United States is beyond me.
We do not have to accept that as Americans. The United States could stop sending jet fuel, bombs, all sorts of weapons. This is a political problem. We need a political solution.
We're a good pair. You talk intelligently and I talk emotionally.
It's on us to make sure that their stories are told. I couldn't go to Palestine. I got rejected. And then I come back to the United States and get detained by the Department of Homeland Security.
This is what my tax dollars did. What your tax dollars did. What my neighbor's tax dollars did. They have the right to know the truth. Thoreau's the right one to listen to. He is about fairness, and he is about doing the right thing.
You know we're not dating, right? You don't have to talk me up this much. I just met her 5 minutes ago. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I got news for these doctors. There is no political solution. A British surgeon claims returning from Gaza. A British surgeon returning from Gaza claims that the bodies of Palestinian children killed during the war were returned with their hearts, lungs, and livers missing. They're trafficking organs. They're out of aardvark land.
So it appears Israel have resumed the harvesting of Palestinian organs. A British Palestinian surgeon, somebody who can not be labelled a Hamas member, has spoken out about the photographs he has received of cadavers that were handed over by Israel. And he notes that it appears highly indicative that there has been organ harvesting occurring. He has said that the bodies show clearly surgically removed lungs, hearts, kidneys and livers done in a professional surgical way using specialized tools with zero damage to surrounding tissues. All of these bodies also belonged to Palestinians who had, of course, been imprisoned while they were alive, which is one of the hallmarks of organ harvesting. Israel, as we know, have formed on this. Government officials in the past have admitted that Israel have harvested the skin, corneas, heart valves and bones of Palestinians right up until the year 2000. So to turn around and say that it all started on October 7 is a libel in itself. But I'd suspect the argument here is that Palestinian organs were perhaps promised to the Israelis by God 3,000 years ago. There's no other way to say it. It is indisputable that this is another indictment on Israel that proves they are simply evil.
Telling you, they sit around in think tank meetings. What is the next most evil thing we can cook up? And they roll that out as a official state policy. They whacked a bunch of Palestinians. We've been reported. They did the big hit job right after the meeting with Jared Kushner and Bibi on the Gaza Strip. So 2 days ago on Wednesday evening, August 19th, Aardvark Land attacked a municipal police headquarters in central Gaza City, killing 8 officers, including 2 female officers and a displaced child in a nearby park. 18 more Palestinians were wounded, some critically, the Palestinian Center for Human Rights said in a statement released yesterday. And here they are. They whacked all of these Palestinians on Wednesday. Aardvark Land attacks across the Gaza Strip over the past 24 hours have killed a child and wounded several others on the 317th day of continued Aardvark Land ceasefire violations. They whacked this 15-year-old kid. Ramzi Ahmed, no longer with us, tragically enough, killed by genocide. Aardvark Land occupation forces have opened fire toward eastern areas of Kiyanis. That was reported earlier today out of the Gaza Strip. It continues. These ultra-Zionist settlers there in the occupied West Bank they're getting international pushback now from all major European governments, even from Mike Huckabee, for crying out loud. So they've really stepped over the line. They don't seem to care. Neither does Aardvark government. Now they're getting pushback here from this evil woman, van der Leyen, right? President of the EU. We showed those official statements from UK, France, Germany, all the big dogs of Europe, and a bunch of others yesterday. Here's EU President van der Leyen says the Aardvark Land government's decision to publish construction tenders for the E1 settlement project is unacceptable. We have long opposed this step. It undermines the two-state solution by dividing the West Bank and breaking the territorial continuity of the Palestinian territories. We remain committed to a just and lasting peace based on the two-state solution. Somebody want to tell her there's no two-state solution? They're killing everybody and taking everything. Systematic arson campaigns, systematic destruction of public health infrastructure, systematic destruction of public safety infrastructure, poisoning the wells, salting the land. The logic is simple. Control the water and you control the people. Palestinian farmers in the occupied West Bank report that Aardvark Land ultra-Zionist settlers are encroaching on their land and water resources. Here's a report out of Sky News. Shockingly enough, here's the report.
We've seen terrible scenes recently of Israeli settlers laying siege to Palestinian homes in the West Bank and a huge surge in settler violence. It's caused international outcry, but there's been no change in policy towards Israel and certainly no change to the violence on the ground. One of the topics that's being hotly discussed in Westminster and Whitehall, also in the EU, is whether to ban all trade with settlements which are considered by the UK illegal under international law.
8 منعت استيراد من المستوطنات الداخل الغربية كلها طب انتوا الانجليز اولى من اسبانيا في المنطقه. اسبانيا ما وصلت هون عندنا ولا عملت حكم عندنا.
Abdul Karim Fouka has seen a lot in his 73 years. Israel's seizure of the West Bank in 1967 and the huge expansion of settlements since then through his family's farmland. And he has little hope of change.
شباب هذا الصغير اما على السجن ام قتل. هذا المستقبل اللي استنى فيهم.
In the lush Jordan Valley, you can see the promise of this land. Date plantations ripe for harvest. This is rich agricultural soil. Area C, the economic heart of the settlement enterprise. Land and water fiercely contested, but for Palestinians, a losing battle.
Yeah, over there, the last structure in the top, that's the settlers' outpost.
Rashid Kouderi's village of Berdala is hemmed in by Israeli outposts, one on every hilltop.
Many times they go in the settlers during the night and destroying our water pipeline, the water tubes.
Yeah.
And when we go in the morning to water our plant, our stuff, it's broken.
He has plenty of videos like this of armed Israeli settlers goading Palestinian farmers, spilling their precious water right in front of them. The logic is simple. Control the water and you control the people, their ability to farm and to survive. In the nearby settlement of Mehola, vibrant citrus groves. Water's not a problem here.
A lot of that produce, it's grown on stolen land.
After a 4-year investigation, the legal group Global Echo believes that 1 in 6 shipments into the EU contains settlement products, disguised as Israeli goods. The stats for the UK aren't clear, but the only penalty for settlement imports is that they pay a standard tariff.
They control at least 80% of our land in the Jordan Valley, and they build the settlers' agro-business, and they export it outside to the UK and to Europe. That's why it's very important to stop the whole settlers' products that's going to the UK. This is just a small thing they can do with the UK governorate, and this is what we ask, of course.
It's a small thing to ask. Palestinians facing new Nakba amid campaign of ethnic cleansing in the occupied West Bank. Yeah. The occupied West Bank is traversing its most perilous phase since 1948, characterized by what Palestinian politician Mustafa Barghouti denounces a systemic new Nakba and ethnic cleansing campaign driven by Aardvark clan. Speaking to Abdul News Agency, the Secretary General of the Palestinian National Initiative Movement stated that the historic Oslo Accords are entirely dead and that Tel Aviv is actively utilizing settlers as a spearhead to enforce land annexation and mass displacement. He highlighted the severe situation in Qusar, south of Nablus, where ultra-Zionist settlers and Aardvark forces maintained a lengthy siege on Palestinian homes following military operations that converted civilian residences into fortified positions. He heavily criticized the transfer of administrative security powers within settlements from the military to police under National Security Minister Ben-Gvir, warning that Western nations display hypocrisy by paying lip service to the two-state solution while failing to impose punitive measures against ongoing violations of international law. Maybe you want to tell a little Vanderlei about this. I'm sure she knows. Canada condemns Aardvark land for closing probe into aid worker killings. The Canadian government formally condemned Aardvark land's decision to close criminal investigations into the October 2024 airstrikes that killed 7 World Central Kitchen aid workers in the Gaza Strip, including a Canadian citizen, Jacob Flickering. Yeah, they whacked them. for trying to bring food to the refugees there. We covered it at the time. Yeah, they don't even need to investigate. They're like, investigate ourselves and find nothing wrong. Hell, we do no wrong. According, God told them 3,000 years ago, you can do no wrong. Not my God, but their evil God. Oman's Ministry of Foreign Affairs condemns aardvark land activities in the occupied West Bank. They've had wide international condemnation now, even from puppet Gulf states. There. Report reveals state-backed ultra-Zionist settler violence expanding across the occupied West Bank. Let's watch this report.
مجلس كروي جلود.
Yep, they're taking that land. That's Smotrich has said. They're taking all that land. It kind of reminds me of the Purge. You know what I mean? Aardvark land occupation forces shot a Palestinian child overnight and attempted to prevent an ambulance from reaching him while storming the dormitories of the Arab American University in Jenin, the occupied West Bank. As reported by Quds News Network, the 14-year-old child was shot with live ammunition in the chest and back and was later transferred to a hospital, according to local sources. Aardvark land ultra-Zionist settler violence there from the colony of Susia attacked a Palestinian-owned stone quarry in Massafir Yatta, south of Hebron in the occupied West Bank before dawn. They proceeded to set fire to several pieces of equipment and machinery, including 2 excavators, 2 stone cutting machines, and 3 bulldozers. Dr. Dima Mohammed Amin, a specialist in obstetrician and gynecologist, was arrested from her home in the occupied West Bank, is the latest victim of Aardvark land's systemic campaign of hunting down and detaining Palestinian medical professionals. Palestinian youth killed, an elderly man wounded in ultra-Zionist settler attack near Hebron. Killed this kid in the occupied West Bank. It's ongoing. Here they are. Here's a bunch of these ultra-Zionist attacks in the occupied West Bank, attacking local residents in Hamrush area in a town of Sa'ir, north of Hebron. more of the raids here by the Aardvark land occupation forces take over Palestinian home in Yabba, southwest of Jenin in occupied West Bank, and turn it into a military outpost. So we're taking your house, and we may just kill you as well. Aardvark land moves ahead with illegal E1 settlement block and bid to erase Palestinian state, led by Finance Minister Smotrich right there. We've reported every step of the way as this plan is developed and announced by Aardvark land. All illegal under international law. They don't care. Don't be an antiseptic. All right, that's all the reporting we got for today. Let's take a look at Iran international headlines, and we'll get out of here on this Friday. Iran leaders sound economic alarms under Trump's economic D-Day plan. Trump says Iran wants deal, but is not ready for the right deal. Yeah, no major kinetic action, U.S. versus Iran right now. There was that one report of some action in the Strait of Hormuz, but it appears nothing major is kicking off or has kicked off, at least since we've been live here. Trump says Iran not ready for right deal. Headlines out of Al Jazeera now. UN Rights Office for Palestine calls out Aardvark land army over attacks on Gaza police. UN rapporteur brands Aardvark land military as the most immoral amid latest killings in the occupied West Bank. Yeah, you don't get much more evil. Maybe America can one up them on the evil. I don't know, but they're pretty damn evil, man. Pretty damn evil. All right, that's all the reporting we have for today. Thank you for joining me on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. Let's head over to the channels. Odysee first, as per usual. Here now. Oh, by the way, everybody should, if you have 20 minutes, go check out that, or go read it for yourself, whatever. I did put out a mini documentary on national security, science, and technology strategy of the United States 2026 edition. It's the framework for building scientific dictatorship technocracy, the greater North America. You might want to take a look. It's free up on Odysee. It's free everywhere, but it's on Odysee, Rumble. It's on the YouTube channel. You can go watch it right here, right down there in the documentary section. And I have links to the document. You can go read it yourself. I did a 20-minute summary version mashup of it there for you. Go take a look at that, all free, of course, to inform you. All right, let's head over to the Odysee channel now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in on Odysee on this Friday. Shout out to Fat Bob, Huffman, Test. Where's my 2 taxation is theft t-shirts proudly. Thank you, Fat Bob. Thank you. Let's see. It wouldn't surprise me if Mint has ad block built in on the difficult browser. A bunch of aardvark manipulation she has seen. Is there another open source OS? They're talking amongst themselves, I see. Shout out to John, Test, Vol. Now folks go to prison in England for posting criticism of that group. Yeah. That is my experience too, Sam. The price of ground chuck is now $6 or more per pound. Yeah. Bitcoin remains in shaky ground, in my humble opinion. Yeah, it is in shaky ground. I do agree with you there, Fat Bob. You don't see me pumping Bitcoin. I did for a minute there, back 4 or 5 years ago during the bat times, but since I've learned quite a bit more about it, they say my audio and is freezing and cutting out intermittently. Aardvark cyber attack. I think it's probably Odysee. Odysee does have some glitches every now and again. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and chatting it up on the Odysee. Apologies for the glitches. I think it's probably Odysee, honestly. They do good most of the time, but every now and again they do have the glitches. Thank you guys for tuning in on Odysee, X, Bitchute, Facebook, Substack, Rumble, and YouTube. Okay, let's head over to the Rumble YouTube chats, and Facebook comes through as well there. Shout out to Strong on the Rumble, A-Dub on the YouTube. Vote red or blue, you get an aardvark. Cold says, yeah. Hard to disagree. Not in all cases, but in large majority of cases, yes. God, you are dumb or a globalist shill. Well, we appreciate the insults there, Jay. If you knew anything about international affairs, maybe you'd have a different opinion, but keep listening to your MAGA bros there. Shout out to Ruckus. Ruckus says he says, sorry to report no boiler room on ACR tonight. Ruckus is on ACR tonight. What's ACR? Alternate current radio, right? Ruckus is on alternate current radio tonight. For those, you may have already started. So be aware, Ruckus on alternative current radio tonight. Let's see, Jack on the YouTube. Americans are letting a PDF destroy America. CJ, blessings. Epstein file, the U.S. is being run by PDF. Bro, we've been reporting on it since the beginning. Welcome to the channel, Jack. I do have 3 great shows. I did deep dives, 2 with William Ramsey's and 1 with Jones Plantation, Drew TV producer or director there. Those are all available at Weaponized News. Deep dives into the Epstein files there. They're all paid off or blackmailed, A-Dub says. It appears so. Trump promises American made, promises kept, Slick Nick. Slobberman, slobbering. Let's see, CJ, a couple good guys still in there, but they are few and far between. Slick Nick, Trump is a brilliant leader. You love paying that much for a hamburger, bro? It's brilliant. Trump won 3 elections. Forget about voting's rigged. The entire system's rigged, man. Grow up, children. I know our audience knows that, but the trolls. I'm just talking to bots anyway, most likely. Let's see, Mr. Mundre. Why is POTUS getting cozy with North Korea? Good question. Why is he getting cozy with North Korea? When North Korea is sending a bunch of troops to fight for Russia in the freaking proxy war via Ukraine that we're fighting. It's a freaking insane asylum. Our U.S. foreign policy is schizophrenia. Shout out to Joe on the Facebook. Gavin Newsom for president. There you go. Gavin Newsom for president 2028. That'll help. No, it's looking like what the Ossoff guy is the Democrat frontrunner now. And AOC showing some skin, doing her was it? She's saving her eggs or whatever, right? Freezing her eggs. And she's pulling up her shirt all the time, doing videos. Gavin Newsom going to make America homeless like he has done for California. Yeah. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. Gavin Newsom for president. You seem like an accelerationist there, Mr. Mundre. Trump is eliminating the crooked CIA from the oil business, Censored says. Man, oh man. And then Robert says, your lobotomy didn't go well. Trump is robbing the United States. Come on, man. Grow up and get out of these delusions of these that Trump and the whole entire government. Give up the illusion that they work for us. They don't. They work for themselves, and they're profiteering off their positions of power. It's ridiculous. The government's an organized crime syndicate. Shout out to Snow over there. You're a goy slave, Snow told. Oh, man. Trump's a PDF. You better believe he is. And she shout out to Hemp Car, Yona, Denver on the Rumble. Thank you guys for tuning in there. Ruggins, Huckabee don't know shit. Oh, it's like Huckabee been kept in a closet and just broke out and noticed that Aardvarkland terrorist. It's like he knows it's really freaking bad. He's trying to do damage control, and it's just already too bad. You're not gonna apologize your way out of this and excuse your way out of all of their genocidal ways. It's a little late, Huckabee. Ruggins, obey Trump. Trump is always right. Let's see. Oh, man. How original, reading the news. I think I am bringing together an original broadcast. You're not going to see anywhere else but here at Weaponized News. I invited Thomas to come on, get fact up on, offer a alternative view to the Gilliam assertions, or to help explain things. Then we could tie in logical fallacies if I got things wrong. Yeah, we'll do it, Denver. We'll do it. We'll set it up. Trolls on the payroll, indeed. I think there's bots, honestly, but yeah, somebody's paying something somewhere for this nonsense. All right, friends, as always, peace, love, and freedom. Speak out and take action. Have a great rest of your Friday evening, weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday for more Weaponized News. If they do some major kinetic action as in bombing the hell out of Iran or elsewhere. We'll do a report about it and let you know. But short of that, we're off this weekend. We'll be back on Monday. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this Friday edition of Weaponized News. We'll see you on Monday for more Weaponized News. Pray for peace. Pray for peace. And hey, one good thing, we do see international condemnation of the ultra-Zionist settlers' terrorism in the occupied West Bank. So at least the, quote, international community is recognizing that it's terrorism. So at least that. We're not going to get any action, like them stopping it or anything, but at least they're writing strongly worded letters saying we condemn it. It's a start. Yeah, Denver, let's coordinate and we'll do that show for sure. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we'll see you on Monday for more